Hello, good evening. My name is Brittany Johnson. I'm going to be answering questions in regards to leverage English learners in my class, also how to build within the school, but also within their home. Cultural responsive teaching. What are cultural influences in teaching and in learning? Cultural influences may include their native values, the beliefs that they have, and just their cultural in general. Some other influences might include the dynamic. There's so many different backgrounds that these students that we're teaching may have. This may include one parent having to remain in their native country and the other one coming here. This may include the child coming alone and living with a family member. That may include an aunt, an uncle, a cousin, a grandmother. This may be also that both parents live here. There's just so many different dynamics, but it's our job as the teaching professional to find this out and to build that relationship. It will also be important to better teach the students. So by us knowing the dynamic of what that looks like at home, I feel like it also entails how we as teachers can teach these kids. What is the cultural competence role in the instruction of ELs? It is super important for us to understand that we will have so many students, yes, but also specifically the EL students will have so many different backgrounds. As an educator, we want to make sure that we're adding cultural lessons into the classroom. Students will learn about their peers' countries, which is super, super sweet, so that they get to know the person that they're sitting next to, the person that's in their classroom, the child that they're going to recess with. I also want to prepare an inclusive classroom, engaging. We want them to feel like super safe in the environment that they're in. I think it's important as educators to pay attention to our EL students, their successes, their extra needs, so that we can better support them. This may also include gifted and special needs students. With proper training that we get, we can better, teach and uplift and support the students that are in our classroom. We also need to remain respectful to our students and also to their families. We want to continue, again, to make sure that they feel safe with us. The next question is, how can EL students culturally value, and how can their beliefs also be in a part of their learning? And like I said, as I mentioned, I think it's super sweet that we can add cultural lessons, geographical lessons, putting like maybe a map or having a globe. I think that's super cool to so that they can always see like the world. Like we're all different. We all have different spaces in this world, I want to teach my EL students about where they're from, because let's say, they've been there in the country since they were 5 and you have them now at 7. They may have forgotten where they're from or how they got here, or what's celebrated in their home native country. I also think it'd be super cool to add sports. So if Ryan from Kenya loves to play soccer, I think that'd be super cool for him to teach us a few things. Or let's say Sabrina is from Europe and they're amazing in volleyball. Like I think it's super cool to learn the students and what they are super great at, so that helps them build confidence. What is the role of cultural student learning? Cultural lessons can shape students' perspective, values, and maybe also influence peers to interact with that student. It is important for students to learn the diverse backgrounds in the world that we live in. This also creates inclusivity. How do schools, classrooms influence acquisitions, and what steps are necessary to create an inclusive environment? Schools and classrooms should create a space where students feel safe, they're motivated to learn, they want to attend school, and be in your classroom. I think it's super important that us as professionals teach with love, compassion, empathy, Like, again, we don't know what these students have gone through, what they've been through, what they're going through day to day. I think it's super sweet for them to be like, oh, when I'm at Miss Brittany's class, like, I just feel so safe. I feel so happy and like ready to learn, even though I'm like super scared, unsure of what she's even saying sometimes. I feel love. I feel like that's just such a feeling that they get. And then they'll want to participate. They'll want to try harder, and slowly but surely they'll become proficient in English. Another example is having visual aids. So don't mind my daughter's beautiful artwork, but having different signage, having YouTube videos, having pictures, and just any helping visual aid that helps them remember or slowly demonstrates and gives examples about the things that are actually being taught by me. Lastly, I think role playing is super fun. Maybe having some fake money, them learning to like touch and feel the money, and then maybe next to them is their peer, and they can role play back and forth, or even having some one-on-one with me. I think also incorporating real life situations is super helpful. How can we support the needs of EL students in the classroom? What are some strategies for supporting and celebrating cultural diversity within instruction? I believe that utilizing textbooks is super smart. Stories, again, videos, YouTube, things that show videos of, maybe the whole world or a specific country, even lessons with like applications or playing different games, having subtitles, having captions, anything that's super helpful in making sure that the student feels super included. I think it'd be super cool for students once they feel comfortable and ready to talk about the country they're from or holidays that they celebrate, and even having times where we can celebrate with them. And yeah, super sweet. What are some strategies for learning home language and culture assets? I think incorporating home language at school we can make printouts that are like bilingual, so it could say on top English and on the bottom it can be in the language that they understand. I also think it's super sweet to be able to just continue to build on what they are learning. So, like they know 7 words this week and they know 20 next week. It's our job to continue to just build and build and build. We want them to feel excited. So possibly at home, they can have homework and like maybe mom and dad are going to learn alongside them the language. But yeah, supporting the needs of EL students in the classroom. What are some responsive and differentiated strengths that need to identify with EL students, including special needs? For sure, I'm just so big on the differentiated instruction because this helps tailor the instruction by the student and their needs. The students can learn so much by just like knowing what they're capable of, and like maybe even like adding and adding and adding and adding, but just like tailoring certain things to their needs, especially EL students. Second, I think the culturally responsive teaching. This recognizes and how to nurture students and build up their cultural strengths. Lastly, like I mentioned before, the technology. So computer help, YouTube help, things like that. The software programs, applications where they can like play games with bilingual help, but also like play games and learn English slowly but surely. What is the importance of understanding the social, emotional, cultural needs of students when establishing a classroom routine and procedure? I think students need to feel respected. I think they need to feel heard. I feel like with that comes active listening and active teaching. So the more that they're able to understand procedure routine, the more I'm able to teach, the more they're going to listen, and the more that they're going to learn. I think participation will come, hardworking will come in the classroom because they feel stability. There's the procedures set a tone of expectations that I have for them. The parents will also get a set of the rules, procedures, and expectations that way they know, and maybe possibly they can also practice that at home. I feel like students just thrive with routine. And that's why I think it's super important that we set the tone from the beginning. Also tailoring procedures upon the student's social and emotional needs, this way that they can help manage their own feelings. I can help them manage their feelings if need, build more relationships with themselves, with their peers, with the staff. With procedures and understanding comes more focus on maintaining more, listening more, and paying attention. Last question, I believe. How might family and community practices influence students' learning? If students have English speakers within the family, I think that's super helpful, obviously. They'll be able to practice more. But if they don't have that, I think it's super sweet if the parents like encourage them to try to speak English as much as they can. And then with that comes like their family. So if their family is like, come on, let's go, you got this. Like, even if they're speaking their native language, it's like they're pushing them and pushing them and pushing them. It's super helpful to have that practice at home, because the more that they feel motivated, seen, I feel like the more that they will stay motivated and keep trying. Okay, for sure, the last one. What are strategies to build, foster strong family, community, partnership, communication, listening to their needs and engagement, staying involved in school? What are effective family engagement practices that support and highlight these? I think including communication, I feel like family involvement, the drive that the parents show these students, I feel like is gonna be super helpful. If they have a family at home that's like kind of not really caring, I feel like that's gonna be so hard. I feel like it's just with the family at home and then, you know, at school is super helpful. I feel like me and the parent also having great communication presents super success, because if myself and the parent is in a good communication, we're only gonna like pour into the student so much more. Even watching TV, let's say they're watching cartoons at home, preferably maybe in English, this way that they can also learn. I think it's super, like if there's like a community game that they go to it, you know, so that they're staying involved in listening and hearing English as much as they can. Having meetings with the parent if I need to, any extra support that they might need, just kind of just being supportive, being helpful, me learning myself, me getting trained myself, and just continuing to just help the student as much as I can, knowing that I still have like, let's say 25 other students who need me as well, but they're all important. They all matter. But yeah, thank you so much for listening, and have a great and blessed